Boyfriend's ex-wife has it out for me and my cat. My boyfriend, James, and his ex-wife, Marge, both 30s, have 4 kids together, ages 11 to 4. As soon as the last one was born, Marge told James she was a lesbian, she wanted a divorce, and then immediately moved her affair partner into the family home where my boyfriend was still living. It was a bit of a circus for a while, but relatively stable by the time my 31F came along. Marge and I got along at first. I caught her a few times making an effort to avoid me, but when we interacted, both of us were nothing but pleasant. But as James and I got more serious, something started to change. James stopped giving Marge extra money outside of child support. He still pays for extra stuff for the kids like summer camp, etc., but he's no longer giving Marge extra money for household and personal expenses. The kids have never really had any structure/routine, and they were pretty wild. They're absolutely not bad kids. They're all exceptionally empathetic and know right from wrong. 3/4 of them have diagnosed ADHD, and so does James, so things were just a bit chaotic. I introduced James to Super Nanny, and we started working on structure, rewards, and compassionate discipline. I have more means than James or Marge, and I use some of my disposable income to spoil James, and to a lesser extent his kids. I've gathered from the grapevine that Marge does not like that. And I think the thing that bothers Marge the most is that 2 of her kids, completely of their own volition, started calling me Mommy really early on. I never encouraged or discouraged this. I only told them when they asked that they can call me whatever they want. The kids also can't wait for James and I to get married. They all work together to surprise me and James with a pretend wedding, which absolutely touched my heart. I explain all this so it makes sense when I say that things between me and Marge soured basically overnight. I think it had been brewing for a while. I, admittedly, made a mistake by bringing the oldest kid to a doctor without contacting Marge first. He was having a severe headache, and he and I were on a solo trip into the big city. I contacted Marge's wife to explain what was going on and ask how much he weighed so I could give him Tylenol. She didn't seem very concerned, and I didn't think to contact them again before taking him to the doctor. Marge absolutely blew a gasket on me and James, sending us both many-mile-long texts and calling James a dozen times so she could scream at him over the phone and threaten that he would never see the kids again. That was a turning point for the relationship between me and James. I saw a fork in the road and questioned if I really wanted to stay with someone who has a co-parent like this. But James did everything right. He lied and took the blame for me even though I insisted he didn't. He did tell me to ask next time, but he told me sweetly he knew it was just a mistake and he wasn't mad at me. He said this in the middle of his phone ringing off the hook after seeing my horrified expression. He kept his cool and dealt with it, and he was patient with me when I left to take a walk and think. He's just that kind of guy. After getting a little space and fresh air, I decided I wasn't going to let her ruin a great thing for me. This is the man I'm going to marry. Marge launched an absolute campaign against me for months after that. She did her very best to poison the kids against me. It killed me watching them go from absolutely beside themselves when I came in the door to frosty and distant. Their dad and I both tried talking to them, alone and together, to try and understand what the problem was, but they were very dodgy about answering any questions about why they were acting weird. But it was confirmed in a 1-on-4 with James that it was about me, that some of them didn't want me around anymore. James talked with Marge and told her I wasn't going anywhere. He told her we were going to get married, so she needed to get over this grudge and stop whatever she was doing with the kids to make them all turn like this. He pointed out how messed up everything was with her now wife shortly after the divorce and said that he put it behind him for the kids' sake, and she needed to do the same. The next weekend the kids were all back to normal again, like nothing happened. I was happy and relieved, but also privately very upset that she would use the kids like that as a weapon. Well, that wasn't the end of it. They all came over one weekend and we had a lovely time. I remember the oldest one was rubbing his eye, which was red, and he said it was itchy. He said it probably the cat hair from my 10-year-old cat. I said I wasn't sure because I've never heard of someone going from having no reaction to an allergy in that short amount of time. James agreed and also mentioned it was allergy season and it could be anything. It was a short exchange, and then the rest of the weekend went normally. A couple hours after they get back to their moms, the oldest calls James and starts telling him in this really panicky way that the cat hair was really dangerous for him because he has asthma and it could become a serious risk of death or hospitalization if we don't get rid of him. James was trying to calm him down when Marge took the phone and started getting on to James for not taking him seriously and being really insistent that the cat had to go. The lecture went on for like 30 minutes as James was trying to be reasonable and point out it was too early to say what needed to happen. The text started rolling in after the phone call where she all but accused him of not loving his son. It all seemed so ridiculous, but James and I agreed to keep my kitty locked in the bedroom while the kids were over, and we started keeping the kids' bedroom doors closed while they were gone. The cat came up as a guilt trip a few more times that week. I just told James that if my cat had to stay locked away, I wanted to see proof. I needed the kids to see an allergy specialist because it just seemed way too convenient. So he started setting it up with Marge. It took a long time, but it finally came back. Results are in. The oldest is not allergic at all. The second child had a 3 millimeters wheal. Marge said to James, anything above a 2 millimeters is a severe allergy. Sure, Jan. That's my rant. I'm fed up, but at the same time, I'm getting kind of apathetic about the antics from that side of town. I keep telling James, and he to me sometimes, that the day will come when the kids get old enough to look at all their memories critically. All we can do now is just hold our heads up high and let it roll off. Only 14 more years to go.